Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Brianne Beebe. If you are new here, I am a high school math teacher and a productivity mentor to secondary teachers. So this school year has been extremely difficult for so many teachers, and for me, I feel like my difficulties are very different from others, just having a new baby and maternity leave, while some teachers might still have that going on. That's like my struggle. It's not quite the same as everyone else's, but when I think back to what was my most difficult school year and how that was, one of the things that I struggled with was coming home from work, and even if I wasn't still needing to work on stuff, if I was able to stop and put it down, I still could not stop thinking about school. It was constantly on my mind, just trying to come up with new lesson ideas, or sometimes new lesson ideas would find me. Those are the good thoughts. Sometimes I would be really just thinking over and over about a situation that was difficult and just how I should have handled it instead of how I did handle it. And there's just so many things that you could think about nonstop. Like, you get an email from a parent that sounds like there could be an issue, and then that's all you can think about. I've been there. So I wanted to share some tips about how to turn off your teacher brain so that you can kind of get out of those thought patterns and try and focus on something else and give yourself a break. So first and foremost, these tips that I'm sharing, they're not going to completely fix the issue. When it comes to turning off your teacher brain, it is a practice. It's something that you have to actively focus on and work for. So it's going to take some time to actually be able to turn off your teacher brain, but these are some tips to help get you started and kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. So the first one is to clean up at the end of the day. Not only do you get to walk into a nice, neat classroom in the morning when you do this, but it gives you a chance to kind of just stop and reflect on the day a little bit, so that some of the things that you would be thinking about after school, you can kind of just basically make time to think about them so that you can let it go. Think of it as having like a closeout ritual. It's a way to divide the school day from the rest of your day. So that way you can kind of set up like a clear boundary between the two parts of your life. It helps you compartmentalize a little bit. It gives like this finality to the day that you've had. So during this time, I will clear my desk, make sure everything's put away, and kind of do a quick sweep of the room, and not like a literal sweep of the broom, but just kind of walk around, make sure everything's put away, that there's nothing out that shouldn't be, and basically just make sure that everything's clear. My next tip is to prep for the next day, and this you could be doing while you are resetting your classroom and just putting everything away. So the things that I would prepare for the next day is a to-do list, and that's something I might be thinking about while I'm reflecting and cleaning up my classroom. I prepare my boards for the next day. I have to have my objective posted every day in my classroom, so I will go ahead and write that out, and on that same board I tell students if there's like an upcoming test or quiz or something, if they're missing anything. So I will go ahead and write all that stuff down on that board, and then I will actually take any handouts that I have and put them close to the door so that students are able to get them as they come in for the next day. And it just gives me the chance to have all the stuff prepared so that the next morning I'm not running into rush to do it. But more than that, I'm not going home thinking like, oh, I need to make sure that I remember to put out these supplies for the activity that we're doing tomorrow. I'm able to do that the day before I leave for school, and that way I'm not thinking about it later. So the next tip is about those lesson plan ideas that find you when you're not teaching. It's nice when you are able to actually stop thinking about teaching so much that these ideas just kind of find you. Like, you'll be in a store and think of something and you're like, that's a really great connection I could make to real life, and it would go so great with this lesson. And the next thing you know, you're like thinking and thinking and thinking about it. So what I like to do is have a place, this is the tip, have a designated place to store those lesson plan ideas. And personally, I like to store them on my phone. That way I always have my phone with me, so when these ideas come to me out of nowhere, I'm able to put them in my phone really quickly. Unless I'm in the shower. Don't some of the best ideas come to you in the shower, and then you obviously don't want your phone in there because the water. But anyway, if you have this way of cataloging these ideas, it's easy to go back to, and so that way when you are able to actually sit down and lesson plan and really think about these ideas, you have them stored in this easy to find location. So personally, I like the Notes app on the iPhone because it's really easy to store everything in there. You can make up a folder of just like school, and then every time you have an idea, just add a new note. You can add pictures to it if you want to take a picture of something so that it's there for you later. And then you can let the idea go and free up your mind, and you don't have to like hang on to it. You know how sometimes you come up with this idea and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to remember that, but then it's hard to remember because you can't write it down in the moment. Just have a plan set up, whether it's on your phone or you have a notebook you want to write it in, so that way you don't have to stress about trying to hold on to that idea and have it take up a lot of time or a lot of your focus thinking about it more than it needs to. That sentence may have been hard to follow. Please forgive me. Sometimes it just, what I want to say like rushes at me before I can get it out my mouth, and then it doesn't quite come out right. But anyway, the last tip is to make your to-do list doable. This is something that I harp on a lot. A lot of times when we make to-do lists, what we're actually doing is making a brain dump where you just write down every single thing that you can think of because you don't want to forget anything. Totally fine. Brain dumps are great, but you don't want to work off of them and make that your to-do list. Take your brain dump and then select your priorities, things that need to get done right now or right away, and make a little mini to-do list from that. So a mini to-do list, we call it a power list because those are like your key things to get done for the day. Typically, it's recommended that you choose 3. You might have more on some days, it just depends. But essentially what you're trying to do is select tasks that you can definitely, for sure, get done during the day. And that way you're not leaving for school thinking about everything that did not get done, because that is something that I would struggle with. I'd get home and I'd be like, oh, I did not do this or this or this. And then kind of like what I was mentioning about the lesson plan ideas, if I didn't write it down, I couldn't stop thinking about it because I was afraid I'd forget it. So by having a to-do list that's doable, you're able to get through those tasks and get them done, and then you don't have to think about them anymore. Now, not every day is perfect. I know that there will be days that you have your 3 tasks and you get through 2.5 of them and you still have stuff to do. That's okay. Make sure you put it on your to-do list for the next day, but learn how to not beat yourself up for it. It's okay if you don't finish your to-do list. It's okay. You're not a bad person. You're human like the rest of us. Totally fine. So that's everything for this video. I hope it was helpful and that you're able to start to wind down your mind a little bit and let go of the teaching stuff, because there's more to life than just teaching. We do not want to be 100% focused on teaching all the time. It's okay to take a break. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to add to those tips, please share them in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.